Okay, so welcome everyone on our second part of the course for computational methods in mechanics. And today we'll continue to discuss about the Matlab programming. I hope that about this online streaming it will go smoother. Yeah, at least I can see that. So
There is some
welcome everyone on our
noise there.
second part of the
Okay,
course
I can see
for
that
computational methods in mechanics.
make too
And
much
today
noise, okay.
So yeah, there should be sound, yeah, because last time there was no sound for just first half an hour, yeah. Also there was no chat, yeah. This is also a strange story, but now I can see that it works, so let's see. But okay, so MATLAB programming, yeah. So we'll continue a little about those basic concepts, yeah, especially, and then we'll learn or remind ourselves, just I hope also pretty briefly about the basic constructions, like how to create functions, yeah, and especially what is the scope of the variables, just to be aware of it, and this strange thing with the MATLAB functions that typically you have to put them in a single file with single name, but okay. Then a little about the loops, some file operations, very briefly. And if everything will go smoothly, today you will get the first assignment. Yeah. One of the reasons is that there are no classes next week. I just put it here because to be sure that I won't forget about this. Simple reason is that because I'm traveling. Yeah. Okay. What we'll do about this, I don't know yet. Yeah. Let's see how the course will evolve. Yeah. Now we'll skip it. Yeah. But I hope that we'll be able to make it done. Yeah. In one way or another. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Yeah. So can you tell me how others are doing with those, handling such situations? Or do you have any preferences? Yeah, I know. Okay, so but let's see. Yeah. So I was also thinking about this. I was thinking about just having this in different terms, but this is very hard to agree. Yeah, but still it would be pre-recorded. So maybe I can organize it, and the one of you that would like to join that can join, and others can just follow it. If there will be no one, simply recording will be shorter. Yeah. So yeah, I think it could be a good option. I will think about this. But okay, now it's the case that there are no classes next week. Okay, so you have already seen it, so I just bring it to just make a smoother start, but there's nothing new here. If there's no comment, any comment about this formatting? It was super important in the old days, yeah, because in the super old days with super old computers that I don't even remember, so I only know it from those stories from the stories, yeah, of older colleagues. If you mess up with formatting, that after 3 days of computing of your Fortran code, you end up with nothing. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, it's not the case. Usually, those 3 days compress in current situation to 3 minutes. Yeah, and then those formatting are clever now. But okay, yeah. It's just good to know. You have to still somehow communicate with your code. Yeah. So alternative way of formatting. Yeah. Still, I think where you want to get anything fancy, you have to go with those fprint, sprint, and then it gives you nicer layout. But still, in most cases, we can either skip those numbers here or just use display. But okay, yeah. Arrays. We should at least mention about the arrays because MATLAB is array language, and so it of course this is the basic quantity, and yeah, collection of numbers is called array, and you just create array typically by using zeros function, in MATLAB, yeah, just like that. And then you provide how many rows and how many columns and maybe how many higher dimension features do you want to get, yeah. So it allocated the memory, it clears all the memory to 0, which is pretty nice. So then it means less surprises with your code. By default, it's always double precision numbers, like always in Matlab. And then, of course, you can index it by using parentheses, yeah, which is pretty unique for programming languages. But in Matlab, you are using parentheses, and then you are just providing index. And as you may know, arrays in Matlab are one base index. Yeah. Why this is important? Because in certain languages, you don't have indices, but you have shifts. Yeah, those languages are, for example, C, C++, or Python. Yeah, so in those languages, the first element is 0, and simply because it's shifted from the start by 0. Yeah, so here we have indices typically. So the first, second, third element. I think it's nice for engineers, but for the languages that are targeting more computer science, like Python or C, it starts with the shifts 0. Which makes, for example, writing loops and some constructors easier, but yeah, it's pretty easy to go from one to another. Some functions, yeah, some operations. So how to get some things from the arrays, like AND. It's a special keyword, yeah. It's used in both contexts, so it's used, of course, to end, for example, functions, but it's also used here to indicate the very end element of our array, yeah. It's equivalent to that part, in that thing, in the case of at least vectors, yeah. Slices with colon operator, yeah. Do you know colon operator? Is it clear what means here and here, those two? So what is meaning of this, of that one? That H1 colon 2. Just asking. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if you are shy or yeah, you are shy. So what does it mean? Yeah.
There is a comment in the slide.
Hmm.
There is a comment in the slide.
Damn. Yeah. Okay. Comment on the slide. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I get it. Thanks.
I assume that the students are shy to.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you need someone like that. Yeah. Because I put it. Yeah. This is the issue. Yeah, that okay. That how the slides should look like. Yeah. Because there are many, of course, schools. Yeah. But in general, on the slides like that for lectures, I tend to put more information that I need for lecture, yeah, just to have some reference, maybe, yeah, some reference when I put it there, and now I cannot tell the full story, but okay, yeah. But okay, 1 to 2 in Matlab, it always means, 1, 2, yeah, and 1, 2, and in general, here is error. It means nothing because we need really an array. So if you have H that it's was defined by zeros for 1, yeah, so it has 4 zeros, then we can use internally to index H those AND, because then here it doesn't have any meaning because it's a keyword reserved to finalize some statements, yeah, while here in the indexing it changes its meaning to be a token that indicates the last element of an array. Yeah, perfect. So, clear how it works? Great. Matrix vector operations, Matlab. Yeah, if you have any course on Matlab, I suppose that you know most of this, like functions, special functions I, yeah, and how to concatenate and make all those operations. Does it require any comment? Good. Plotting. We have already done it briefly, yeah, but plotting in Matlab is pretty easy, yeah. You just have to have vectors. Typically, you have to have vectors. It works also with matrices, but let's now make it easy, so let's focus on the vectors, yeah. And if you have vectors of the same sizes, yeah, then you can simply plot the values, yeah. By default, you can plot something, and here is the value that will appear on the x-axis. Here are values that will appear on the y-axis, and by default, it creates this simple line plot. Yeah, there are many different plots. based on the uses, but for us this will be mostly fine. Yeah. Then it's nice to make some labeling to know what is what. Yeah. Especially this is useful for example, writing the report. There is this helper function hold on, hold off. Do you know it? How it works? No, not really. Okay. So hold on and hold off are useful because when you make a plot, yeah, it creates a new plot. It by default override the old plot. Yeah. Okay. So if you have those values like, okay, the date is whatever, 1.2, 1.4, and 2.5, yeah, and then we'll have h2, for example, to make it easier. Just I will copy those values, yeah, to make it faster, and then we want to have this x 1 to 4, yeah. If we make plot of x h, then of course we get the plot of what we ask, yeah, x as function of h, yeah. But let's say that we want to also plot h2 on the same plot, yeah, just for comparison results, yeah, very common scenario. So if we try to type x h2, it will simply overwrite our plot, yeah. So so here on those slides, simply there are two ways to make two plots, yeah. So one way is just to type it as a group, yeah. So those are data for the first plot and data for a second plot. And as expected, we get two plots on the one figure, okay? But sometimes we really want to plot something and then to plot one values and then plot second values later. Yeah? Reason may be many, but one realistic scenario is that we have long computations. Yeah? So we want to make a plot of one computations, and then after, for example, half an hour, we'll add second plot as a comparison. Yeah? And here, if we want to realize this scenario, we need the hold function. And hold works for figures, and it simply do what is written, so it just holds what is on the plot. Yeah. So then, if we make a first plot, and then write hold on, yeah, then we can make a second plot, and as you can see, second plot appears as well. I don't know if it was clear enough, so maybe I will just repeat it. So I need hold off to clear the plots, yeah. So next, if I make the first one, it's just the first one, yeah. Then I can make a hold on, make a second plot, yeah. And now, until I will type hold off, all the plots will be added to that one, okay. So that's why it's good idea either to close it, yeah, or just type hold off, yeah, after you end your computation, so that if you want to make some extra, it won't be added here, but it will create off, yeah, just to be aware. And if you want to really get two separate plots, yeah, so then you will get two windows that you can compare on the screen. You can just create a new figure, yeah, and by default it will plot on the new figure, yeah. So in this scenario, okay, we have hold off, so let's close it, yeah. So we get the first plot, yeah. Then we can type figure to open the second plot, then go back to Matlab, make another plot, and as you can see, we have two figures, two separate figures. Yeah. So it works that way. Okay. Some helper functions. Okay. So first of all, after two arguments, plot can accept fer argument, and like here it's string argument, yeah, and it tells about basic. You can make basic formatting of your lines, yeah. It's useful in many ways, yeah. So because by default those are solid lines, yeah, but you can add markers to them to mark specific points, and you can change the type of the line, yeah. So for example here the first plot was marked with no information about the line, only the star, so it just shows the marker, so just exact points without connecting them by any way, yeah. And those points are shown here as stars. And the second one here is dashed line, and all those points are marked with the markers that are as circles, as shown here. Any questions? If you want to know more details about what are the markers that you can use or what are the types of the lines that you can use, just help, yeah, just go to help plot, yeah. So because there are many ways you can plot it, yeah. So if we get plot in help, this font is for sure too small. But here you can see that this is known as this line spec, yeah. So if we click on the line spec, then it's shown here that here are available line styles, yeah, so solid, dashed, dotted, dash dotted, yeah, and some markers, yeah, quite few. Then you can also talk about colors if you really want, yeah. But okay, so this is the way it goes. Clear? Yeah. And then if you especially make plots for like reports, yeah, it is really nice to make some extra stuff put there. Like sometimes legend is needed if you have several of the plots on the one plot to know what is what. Yeah. A title is typically not needed. Like for the report, it's useful for slides like here, but it's not useful for the report. Why? The reason is very simple, because of the captions, yeah. Because when you have typically, a presentation like that, you don't use captions, yeah, you can, but typically you might not, so you just add title to your plot. But when you use it in some kind of document, yeah, like thesis or something, usually you skip the title and just put caption with the information, extended information, what is on the plot. The last one, axis, it just sets the boundary, yeah. You can also use xlim, ylim, yeah. Put the boundaries, so it means that those are x boundaries from 0.5 to 4.5, yeah, like here, and one again 0.25 to 2.2. Sometimes it's just nice to make some to just leave some margin, or for example, if you put legend, legend can get into your way, yeah. And here the last point is how to save a plot as a file, yeah, because of course, yeah, you can make a print screen, but print screen looks like they doesn't look so nice and publication quality, yeah. So I strongly encourage you to save figures as files before putting them into the reports. Okay? Clear? Yeah, because I don't know, because the plot like that look much nicer than, for example, plot like that. Yeah? And here, so here you can, if you have just one open plot, you can just type print, and then here is the name of your file, and here it describes file format. Yeah. Here it's PNG. It's good format. It's reasonably good format for a plot, yeah, because it's lossless. Yeah. So JPEGs usually are not so great. And here is dmeta. Yeah. This is preferable format if you use Word, for example. Do you want to hear why? Do you know what is vector graphics? Yeah. So vector graphics, like for example, I think that the most famous vector graphics format is SVG, yeah, just scales well, yeah, because this is just a plot. This is a bunch of lines, yeah, and curves, yeah. So it can easily be saved in the way that even if you enlarge it to some enormous sizes, it will still hold its high quality. But to have it, you have to save it as vector graphics, because vector graphics is just scalable, yeah. So this is what is important here, yeah. And dmeta, save it as, I don't remember exactly, yeah, we can check it, yeah, what is exact file format used for it. Yeah, so do we have some figure open here? Sorry. So let's make some figure, yeah, and now we can print it. I think that we don't have to call it as a function, but okay, yeah. Yeah, and as we can see, we get a PNG file. Okay, Matlab wants to export it, but I think, yeah, Matlab wants to import it as a data. That's why we have to, where is this function? Open outside Matlab, yeah. Yeah, so if you open it outside Matlab, of course it works, yeah. But this dmeta, why? It should work on Windows, I suppose. Yeah, I haven't checked all the code lines, so yeah. It never fails on Windows, so I suppose that on Windows it should work. Yeah, clearly I need to find some workaround for it. But okay, yeah, we can. I will check it and let you know. By the way, is there anyone here who wants to go with LaTeX, for example? Do you know LaTeX? So for LaTeX, of course, it's good to use just PDF directly. Yeah. I hope that PDF at least works. Yeah. Or of course you can use, I suppose, EPS, but I don't remember if this is exactly that one. Yeah, and it's not so easy to open EPS normally. This PDF always works. Yeah. But it doesn't look well. Yeah. So you have to experiment with it. Yeah. I can check it. But yeah, okay. Sometimes you forget about this, that it's really difficult to put what you get, because like here you can see that it generates PDF, but it generates on the A4 format, yeah. And typically we want to have smaller. But if you are not going for LaTeX, it's not bothering you. Yeah.
I'm in the help center right now, and it says that DNet is supported only by Windows.
Okay, makes sense.
And the corresponding file extension is .emf.
EML, EMF. EMF, yeah, because I wasn't sure if it's EMF or because there is also WMF, I believe. Yeah, file format. So yeah, it works on Windows and it's EMF, and EMF is a vector file format that fits well into Word files. Okay. Yeah, it should generate EMF file. Yeah. I'm not surprised that it works only for Windows, but yeah. But okay. PNG is still, if you have any issues with that, as here, you can always go for PNG, and in most cases it's acceptable. Yeah. Any questions? Input data. Yeah. Just very briefly about it. Yeah. So of course, typically when you write some software, you have to input some data. Yeah. There are many ways. One way is, of course, to input your data in the script. I think this is the most common. Yeah. Then you write that your A matrix is that and that, and you type it from somewhere. But if you have a little slightly more data, like for example, you have some measurement data, then you typically go for text files. There is also a way to build user interface in Matlab. I don't know if you have done it. I have done it some time ago, but we won't handle it. There are also others that are just common for everything. Like there are some environmental parameters that we won't touch here. Command line parameters as well, especially if you write some longer scripts. There is also a way to get very easy console interaction, yeah, and it's done with this input function, yeah, and it works that way that you can just type input. So by typing input, you are requesting input from the user, yeah, and you can write, yeah, like here, what is your age? And I suppose that as second parameter, as far as I remember, you can even type what type of answer you are expecting to get. So it has some kind, so you can enforce. And if, for example, user provides you string instead of the number, you can complain about this and wait for the number. But in the very basic way, it just type it, yeah, and just wait for your reply, yeah, and provide you a number, yeah. Okay, and then of course you can use it in calculation. Sometimes it's pretty handy in longer code. Now, symbolic computations. Okay, so this is another pretty nice features. It requires symbolic toolbox, but I suppose that for you it shouldn't be an issue. Can you check if you have it on your computers? It's super easy to check it. Because when you of course type something like x equal to 2, yeah, y equal to 2, and then like here types that z is equal x times y, of course it works, yeah. And then we work on those standard double classes. They are just concrete numbers, yeah, that rise in the memory and they hold always some kind of value. So of course the result of the operation is another value, yeah. You don't have to carry too much. To operate on symbolic computations, typically you have to start with defining them. So you have to tell that your x won't be a number like 2, but it is a special type of variable that holds just this symbol, yeah, and it's done like that, syms. So it is common shorthand to define symbolic variable, and x, y, like here, it will define two symbolic variables. By the way, if you can you check if this works on you? Because simply, if it works, it means that you have symbolic toolbox, yeah, installed, and you can make symbolic computations. Okay, perfect. And then, when you type, once again, that z is equal to x times y, you just get x times y. Yeah, so, yeah. And then if we type whose, we get the information that our variables x, y, and z are of class sim, yeah, so for symbolic computations, yeah. So what is use of this? Yeah, because okay, this is pretty trivial example, so of course we know about this, but there is quite a lot of things that we can do about with those symbolic computations. And by the way, there are many alternatives on the market that are, you know, long time. Yeah? Some of them maybe you know, like Mathematica. I think it's pretty famous for their very powerful capabilities in symbolic computations. Maple. There are also now some free alternatives, and one of them is, for example, SymPy, yeah, in Python. Okay, and what you can do, yeah? So some things that you can do, I like here, yeah, that you can do, of course, some basic, algebraic computations. So even by typing that you have 2 times x plus 3 times x minus 2 times y, yeah, it performs some of those, algebraic computations for you, yeah. You can define, you can do things like differentiation, which is sometimes useful, yeah, because a lot of things that we do in physics is differentiation. So, for example, if you want to model a double pendulum, you have many ways to do this, yeah. But one way is to write Lagrangian for it, yeah, and then you can use symbolic computations to go from Lagrangian to equations of motion. Yeah, and then you can get a matrix, mass matrix on the one hand side, right hand side. Yeah, then you have them in. Then you can write this kind of expression as a function, and then use it to integrate it numerically. Yeah. It of course handles those basic functions like sines, cosines, and many others. Then you can integrate it. Yeah. So if we have, then you can at least try to integrate it. So x with f with respect to x, yeah. So this is a non-definite integral, and it works, yeah. So the base from integration of cosine is sine, as expected. Simplify. It's a longer story, but it just tries to compress your expression in one way or another to make it simpler, because if you make many consecutive steps, yeah, it not always gets the easiest possible expression. Still, it's not perfect, especially for very complex expressions, but yeah, but it's there. You can find the limits, or like here, you can try to solve a function to find for symbolic values, the solution of it. Yeah, one way. Any questions? I suppose it requires some practice to get used to it, to how to use it. Yeah, let's see. But it's simply pretty useful. Yeah. For example, if you need sometimes Jacobian, yeah, this is one thing that we need often, yeah, especially when you talk about some mechanics, or even I think that we'll talk about solving nonlinear functions using Newton-Raphson method that requires Jacobian. Yeah. So one way to get this Jacobian is to compute it symbolically. Okay. So now it's good to know how it works. Yeah, we'll practice this later. And here are some more basics, but I don't know if there's anything here, just short reference, yeah. That of course you can create what kind of matrices by using certain syntax, yeah, with spaces or commas, yeah, and semicolons or new lines, yeah. Then you can just put into Matlab whatever matrix you want, like here is 3 by 3 matrix. Basic operations like additions work element-wise. Most functions works for values and matrices as well, and this is and this is transposition. This hedge for real matrices. Change of formatting. Do you know this? Format long, format short functions. Maybe I will just show it. Yeah. So we have 1/3. So this is standard format, but sometimes you want to know more digits, yeah, like for example here or pi, and then if you type format long, it just modify the default formatting for a Matlab to show you a higher precision. Okay, just more digits. Precision is the same because those are exactly the same number, just about the matter how they are shown on the screen. Yeah, here it shows just more digits. Yeah, like for example pi, and then you can get back to default formatting, and then when you type 4, you have just this default with 4 numbers after the comma. There is also this E-base formatting for scientific notation. then your number is just provided with the same number of digits, but in scientific notation. Sometimes useful if you have numbers that are far from 1, or when they are, especially when they are of totally different orders. And here is the default one. Okay. Inverse of the matrix. You almost never have a need to use it. Yeah. So because simply if you want to, because it appears sometimes in the context of the need for solution of the equations, linear equations, yeah. But then you have this operator that works far better than inverse. Then you can stack matrices in one direction, in second direction, and those helper functions. Who's called CLC, clear, TikTok. Anything here is unclear?
Why does that backslash works better than the inverse command in Matlab?
Because it, so you can go to Matlab help for detailed explanation, but the short story is that you don't need inverse to solve, yeah, and so in short you need more time to solve it, so it's less efficient and it's less accurate, yeah. So simply, yeah, just use that one, because it's faster and more accurate. I think that there are, two good reasons, yeah, to work with it. Okay. So just some remarks about programming. So I suppose that if you do any programming, you also figure out that while programming you must be accurate. Yeah, computers are super dumb. Yeah, so it's not very common that they will do, or they won't do what you haven't told them to do. At least in this programming basis. Sometimes you need to use comments, not so often, but sometimes useful. The most useful comments are just description of the block of the code, like description of your function, because it can also help you clarify what exactly you want to put there, and typically it should be one thing. Don't bother too much with the fast code. The code should be just readable, so it should be properly formatted, uniformly formatted, and just should look nice. Yeah, this is just another rule of thumb. Yeah, if it looks nice, it most likely works, and it's most likely easier to understand and maintain than the code that doesn't look nice. Yeah, so code should look nice. Aesthetic matters. Matlab, of course, requires a license, and here at the end are just two of the most important qualities of the programmer. You have to know how to use your documentation, and you should know your documentation, and you have to know how to Google the stuff in proper way to provide you correct answers. This is also some kind of the skills. Okay, can we go further? Okay, so now about those extra features. So those were about basics. Now we'll talk about conditionals, looping, functions. Okay, so let's start with conditionals. Of course, they use conditionals to make some decisions. So it's to create the branch, yeah. So if velocity is larger than 0, then print that we are moving forward. Other than that, we are standing still or going backward, or many other reasons. There are plenty of the reasons why you need some conditionals, yeah. So conditionals are done with if statement, and then you can branch it with else if to provide any conditions. You can have many of them, and at the end you have optional else, And the very last one is end to state that we have, just finalize this if statement. Does it require any further explanation, or is it clear? Because I think it's very common for most procedural, most or even all procedural programming languages, and I think it's pretty intuitive how it works. Yeah. Here you have also embedded some of those extra operators. What is this operator? Exactly. Yeah. So it will go there. If we so if we choose the random number, as it written here, it provides you a number from 0 to 1, most likely from uniformly distributed set. Yeah. Okay. We can check quickly to be sure. Uniformly distributed pseudo random numbers. By the way, do you know what does it mean that they are pseudo random?
Are they tied to the CPU clock?
Excuse me?
Are they tied? I mean, the generation of random numbers, is it tied to the CPU clock? Something like that?
I'm not sure. Maybe you are correct. Yeah, but I'm not sure if I understand your statement. Yeah, because
Basically, if you know some input to the system, like what's the status of the CPU,
yeah.
if the random number is generated from the state of the CPU clock, then essentially it's not random.
Yeah. I think that we are on the same page. Yeah, because simply speaking, all the operations on CPU are deterministic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from the certain input, you will always have the same output. Yeah, there is no way around it. Yeah. So that time that they are random numbers. So it means that they behave kind of. They try to create an algorithm that works the best to provide you something that looks like random, but it's not actually random because you can always predict it. Okay, always. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, predict it. Yeah, because it's a little complicated topic. But the practice is that there is something called seed. Yeah. That is used to initialize a state of those pseudo number generator. Yeah. And if you start with the same seed, you should always get the same sequence. Because operations on the CPU are deterministic. Yeah. So if you start with the certain state, and state here is defined by the seed, the sequence should be the same. It looks like random. Yeah. But it's in this sense predictable. Yeah. That for the same seed, you should always, for given, of course, implementation of your pseudo random number generator, get the same sequence. Make sense? So how to set a seed? Yeah. Let's check. Oh, let's check if we can provide here number. Okay, so just go to help. Because they are changing it from addition to addition, of course. Yeah. So randoms works the same. Parseeding doesn't have to work the same. So let's get to the end. And let's just Okay, so we can set a seed using RNG, yeah. So we set seed to 12, yeah. So if we get one number, is that one. If we get second number, is that one, and that one, and this set behaves as random set of numbers, yeah. But if we will reset seed again to 12, so because all this generation of the new numbers create a new seed, yeah, the new state, yeah. But we can always reset to our initial state, and our initial state was 12. And if we get the number, you can see that we are start repeating the sequence, yeah. So the first number is the same, the second number is the same, and the third number is the same, yeah. We don't know what is the next number because we haven't checked it, but it's repeatable. Clear? Makes sense? So often, if you want your program to work, look more like it really use random numbers, yeah, you seed, or it's very common practice to seed your pseudo number generator with using current timestamp, because it's still progressing in time, yeah. Because so for all the call runs of your program, we will get the different seed, so different behavior. Fortunately, in most cases, we don't have to bother with it too much, yeah. But it's another, just things to know. But okay, let's get back to our if, yeah. So here, as you can see for this code, it works more or less the way that it selects the number that is between 0 and 1, because by default this is how those generators work, yeah. And then if the number is between 0 and 0.25, it do something. Then if it's between 0.25 to half, it's do something else. As you can see, it's called this random walk algorithm. So it says that it's move north, so it increases one of the y by some distance d. If it's in this range, it move east, yeah. If it's in this range, it moves south, yeah, and else, yeah, because else we don't have to, type it. It moves west, yeah. So yeah, and we need those ends to know that it's between exactly this number and this number. Okay, any questions?
Can we use if-elif function? If-elif, just like Python?
No.
No.
No. Every language has kind of different, yeah, different set of those keywords, yeah. I would be surprised if they use it, yeah. Yeah, at least you can see that else if is reserved keyword, yeah, and elif is just unknown, yeah. So there is no, it's not reserved, yeah. So it's else if. Yeah. Okay. And here it says how it works in details, but I think that I will just leave it for your reference if you have doubts. But of course, it works that way: that if condition, and if condition is true, gets into this branch. If it's false, it tries to go further. Yeah. So if you have another else if, it will make a new test. If there is else, it will just goes there. If this is and, it will just skip whatever is there. Yeah. And typically, you should have Boolean expression that evaluates to true and false, because this is the safest choice. Now, about the functions. Is there any doubt about what function is? So what is a function?
Something that gives an input, a particular one, and then operates something, and then gives you a specific output.
Yeah, something like that. So it's just a tool to encapsulate or put together some bunch of calls. Yeah, and preferably it will give you a meaningful name. Yeah. So typical functions has some name that hopefully tell you what it's doing, more or less. Then it takes some arguments that we hope to operate on it. It makes some operations, has possibly some side effects in the inside, yeah, that it's not expressed by inputs, yeah, and then it returns you some values of calculations, yeah. And we should use a lot of functions because they make just code structured and readable and reusable, yeah. Because of course, you can always just write a bunch of the commands out there, but if you have just few hundreds or few thousands of lines of code, it's really hard to follow it, yeah. So typically, it's better to group them into smaller quantities, and those are functions in our structural programming, yeah. So we have already seen some of them, and they are just simply, yeah, useful, yeah, because then if you want to call atan, you don't have to think about how to do this, because just you have this kind of function, you call it, and what you need to know is that how it works. And the same applies to things that you do and the things that we will do, yeah, because we'll make here some numerical methods like for integration. So it makes sense to make this kind of integration as a function that just perform integration, instead of writing all the time that we need in our code, if something for integration, copy paste those steps, yeah. So yeah, general functions takes arguments as inputs, yeah, then makes some operations, then returns those variables, and sometimes it can include side effects. Do you know what are side effects? That is everything that it's not shown as input or output. Because at least Matlab by default doesn't allow you to play with your input, because most languages allow you to play with your inputs, so you can change your inputs variables, like in Python, yeah, or C or many other languages. In Matlab, in general, it's not allowed, so it copies the values, yeah, kind of. But still, there are side effects, yeah, like global variables. Use of global variables is typically side effect, yeah, or just printing on the screen, because you don't, typically, function doesn't tell that it will do stuff like that. But okay, yeah, we have to survive with it. It's better to write whenever you can functions be without side effects, because they are just easier to go with. But yeah, so it's written here again. It groups bunch of statements under one name that is just easier to understand, because our brain capabilities are limited, so it's easier to tell what do atan than 10 lines of code that make these transformations. Yeah, and then add some parameters themselves, and this is the most powerful tool for dry principles to do not repeat yourself. Yeah, and the reason is simple, yeah, because when you write a code, you make mistakes. Yeah, and if you have a function that you make mistakes, yeah, if you fix the mistakes in this function, it means that all the code that, for example, do this integration works correctly. Yeah, but if you decided to use this code because it was just 3 lines of code, copy paste it everywhere, yeah, for this integration, it means that if you figure out that there is some slight mistakes, yeah, then you have to find all those occurrences and fix them, and this is difficult, and most likely, it rarely happens that you can target all those parts, yeah. So this is important to write a good code. Okay, so here we have some examples of very simple functions, yeah. So yeah, I hope that I have. No, it's not here. But okay, yeah. So this is the very simple function, yeah. So this is the main program because it appears first, yeah, in the Matlab. And here is function that takes no arguments, yeah, has some side effects, clearly, yeah, because here it will display some values, yeah, and it doesn't return anything, so it has only side effects, yeah. So it takes 0 arguments and returns 0 arguments. Just make some computations and display them on the screen. So as you can see, it initializes some time, yeah, and then it calls another function that it's here, yeah, vertical position, and this vertical position is function, as you can see, it has no side effects. It just takes 1 argument, returns another argument, so it defines some internal variable, makes some computations, and then return them here, yeah, and it returns vertical position of the thrown ball that we know already from the last time, and it works that way. Yeah. So this is just very simple example. Any questions? We can see that the function always starts with the function keyword. Yeah. Then there is a name of the function. If the function returns some results, in Matlab it's done the way that those return variables are shown here. So it's shown before, after the name, and after the keyword function, and before the name, with this equal sign. Yeah. And the input arguments are listed here. Yeah. So by default, also it means that Matlab function doesn't have return keyword. It can have it, but it doesn't have it. Questions? Make sense? Okay, perfect.
I didn't understand why we used for the second function is like result is equal to vertical position. Why don't we just use vertical position as the name of the function? I mean, instead of having result is equal to vertical position, function of time, why don't we just use vertical position without?
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that are online, the question was why we have to have this result equal to vertical position and just not to have this vertical position as a function and just return the result, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's not a question to me, kind of, yeah, because this is just a matter of how they design the language. Yeah, so this is, you have to just use it that way. So the designers of Matlab designed the language in that way. And yeah, because now we are talking about the language design, yeah, because it's not up to us or up to someone. So
Understand it, but for the first function we don't have this kind of configuration.
yeah, we don't have it, but simply because we don't return anything. So this function has no return value. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought that you were referring to many other languages that have this idea that this part is missing and then you return something, yeah? Yeah, so this is very common, but in Matlab it's done that way. And I don't think that you can do it other way around. At least I'm totally unaware. And they are pretty conservative about inputting any changes. So this is just the way you write functions in Matlab, and you have to just learn it, and that's all.
Since the two functions were written differently,
Okay. So it assumes defaults, yeah, because by default you can skip it and then tell I do not return anything. Yeah. It's not very useful. Sometimes use it, of course, yeah. Like this display function, you don't require it to return anything. You just want this text to appear there, yeah. So there are some occurrences, but in most cases you want to return stuff here, yeah. Yeah, and this is the way to tell I will return this and that. So here is a little more general function declaration, yeah. That again we have function, and here, as you can see, we can return even multiple values, yeah. And if we return more than one, we have to enclose them into those brackets and then put all those names here. Equal sign, name of the function, parentheses, and the number of arguments, whatever is the number of arguments that we have there. And it just works that way. Yeah. Questions? I think it's pretty basic. So this accepts those inputs, returns those outputs. Declaration might be the first executable line of the function. Do you know what does this mean? So let's, for example, take this code. Go to Matlab, yeah, open new script, and then save this. So I don't know if you can see it here, but firstly, it wants to save it as ball function.m. Okay, so let's say that save it as ball function.m, yeah. And now we have this file ball function.m, and here you maybe also are able to see that it has this function icon, yeah. So it means that this is function. There is no specific way to distinguish functions from the script from the name, yeah, because all of them are M files, but typically Matlab reads them and assign to them different icons, because then if we have a new script, those Java stuff sometimes, yeah, and then here it's just a script, yeah, and here we just call ball, for example, function, because why not, and save it as call ball function. Then you can see that the icon is different. Can you see it? It's hard to see here. I think that I can zoom it somehow, but I'm not sure. I have to maybe I should check the shortcut, yeah. But it's slightly different icon. And if we show here type, yeah, you can see that this is function and this is script. For sure, now it's better visible. Okay. So from the name, it's not visible. It's known from the context, yeah. And how it's known, that this is the first executable line, yeah. So of course we can have here comments or whatever, but if we type a equal to 2, it immediately became script, because then a equal to 2 is something that can be executed, yeah. So of course if we just remove it and leave this function as we wanted, then it's a function. Okay, make sense? Yeah. So now this ball function is a function that it's known to Matlab, yeah. So we can call it, and it displays those two numbers, yeah. It's not a good function because it doesn't tell us too much about what are those numbers, but it's just, you know, to put it on the slide, yeah, it's very easy, yeah? So if you try to pass something, then, you know, we get the error that too many input arguments, because it wants to have 0 arguments. Because we pass 0 arguments, we can just skip even those parentheses. It still works. If we want to get something from it, another error, because it returns no values. So this is error to expect to get some value, okay? So let's say that I change the name of this function to ball function v1, because I want to have v2, for example, or whatever, yeah? So now, how to call this function in Matlab? Will it work if I will call it ball function v1? No, it won't. Unrecognized. Why? And this is this strain. This is one of those quirks of Matlab, that it doesn't recognize your function but function name, at least outside, but it recognizes it by file name. Yeah. That's why if you will check here, it shows a warning. Yeah. And warning says that function name ball function v1 is known to Matlab by its file name ball function, yeah. So that's why if despite we change this name, we still can call it ball function, and it works, and it called this code. Make sense? Yeah. So we will fix this error, not to make more confusion, yeah? So your first function should always have the same name as a file, yeah? Because now, if we do opposite, and if we change the name of the file without changing the name here, it's the same story. Ball function is not working because we don't have file of this name, but ball function v1 works despite the function here has different name. Okay? Of course, when you have this kind of the functions that are used inside, yeah, like here, Then of course this name matters, yeah, because this name here must match this name here. This is clear, yeah. Also, how to call this function? Do you know how to call this function from Matlab? No, because you cannot. Yeah. So this is another this kind of design, yeah, that here in Matlab it just works that way, that the functions that are defined like here, yeah, and they are internal functions there, yeah, so you cannot call those functions. Okay, makes sense?
So we need to have one function, not like.
If you find this function, that is internal function, anyhow useful for your code, yeah, then you can of course always, that's, yeah, exactly. So you can always just take this part of the code, yeah, create new script, copy, paste it, save it, yeah, and then you can call it. And of course, it doesn't change the behavior of our function here, yeah, that still have name v1 despite the name here. So let's get back with the original name just to limit the confusion. And vertical position is not longer here, but there is file here, vertical position, which is a function, and in the same way it can find it. Okay. So I hope that this ends those strange things about Matlab and functions. Declaration. Yeah, function block usually ends with end keyword. Yeah, so okay, declaration might be the first executable line of the function, clear. Functions are supported in script since some years. So if you have very old Matlab, but now it's unlikely. At the end of the file, okay? Because in the past it wasn't allowed, but now you can have a script and then put functions at the end of the file, if you need it, okay? Just to know, function blocks usually ends with end keyword. It's written usually, so it means that you might skip it, and you might skip it. Okay. I do not encourage it because if you have some in functions, because you have also nest functions, yeah, then it causes some issues, yeah. But in general, if we get back here and if I would remove it, it will work perfectly fine. Because function is the only function here, so at least it's not ambiguous where this function ends. It would be ambiguous if I would start putting another functions that are especially the functions that I want to have to be functions inside the function. But maybe it's time for, maybe later we'll discuss this, okay? Functions can be nested. You can always end function execution with return keyword. Okay, so for example, we found if everything is going wrong, so there is no point to continue return. Yeah. And return just break execution. Makes sense? So simply if it hit returns, it get back interpreter exit your function and get back to level above. Okay, so here simply we just have functions that have more stuff inside, but the idea is the same. Yeah, simply we have the same idea that we have this main ball function that takes 0 arguments, returns 0 arguments, make some computations, print more numbers, and here we have just this helping functions that has a little more, let's say, features, yeah, because it returns not only it also returns y position, yeah, so it takes more arguments and return more arguments, but the idea is the same, yeah. Variable passing and scope, yeah. Do you know what is? Do you know those terms? Can we briefly discuss them? Do you understand what are those terms? Passing, the way variables are passed, and scope of the variables.
Can you explain to me, please? Because
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure. Variable passing is the way how the variable I passed, as the name suggests. Yeah. So what are the options? There are two options in general in programming world. Yeah. One is by copy, and another one is by reference. Matlab makes a choice to pass variables by copy. Yeah. So it means that if you pass variable to function, for example here, let's say that we pass this variable, and we decide to change this variable inside the function because of any reason, yeah, this change won't be reflected outside. Okay? So maybe it's better to do this with example. Yeah. So let's say that we have this vertical position, yeah, and we'll change its name to vertical position passing. Yeah. So this function takes t as argument. Yeah. But let's say that we decide that we'll put this result, and at the end we will write that t is equal to 5, because we can. Okay. So now our t is equal to 12. Yeah. And now we want to. Okay. Of course, I make changes in the wrong file. Sorry. So wait a second. So we want to make changes here. We'll fix the name to match the file, not to make confusion. We will add this line. We will clear our inputs to have nothing there. And now we will declare that t is equal to 12. Yeah. And when we call vertical position passing, and we call it with t, answer is whatever, yeah, but t is still equal to 12. Yeah. So we pass t here, change its value to 5, but the change is not shown here from the scope that we call, because this is the notion of the scope. Yeah, that if we enter the functions, we create a new scope that is separated from another scope. Yeah. Is it always the case? It's a tricky question, but in Matlab, if you just pass those arrays, numbers, and others, they are always passed by copy. Of course, in most cases, they're not copied because it's just wasteful. Yeah? Because if you just pass this matrix that is 1 million by 1 million that barely fits into your memory, you don't want to be copied each time you pass it somewhere. Yeah. So Matlab, as far as I know, it would copy this kind of humongous matrix only when you change it inside, because then it must copy it. Yeah. So if you just pass it, it just pretends it's like a copy, but it doesn't do anything with it. Yeah. So if you try to modify, then it will copy it. Yeah. Okay. So this is about some technicalities, but from programming perspective, it means that it cannot change your variables that you are passing. And it's not always true, but in most cases it's true. Okay. There are languages like, does any one of you know C or C++? So do you know if C passes by reference or by value? It means does it copy or not? You don't know. It copy. Yeah, C also copy, but C has this notion of the pointers. Yeah, so you can just decide if you want to pass it as a copy or as a reference. Yeah, so there are these languages that makes it also a little challenging to write in, that do that way. There are also another languages like Fortran that just pass it by reference. Yeah, so in languages such like that, if you make stuff like here, if you would perform this operation, change t to 5, it would be 5 here. Yeah, so it happens. So I think that in Matlab they make it as just a safer choice, that you can play with it whatever and it won't be reflected. Yeah? Because I think it feels safer. Yeah? That you can do whatever with your variables and it won't be just like that accidentally seen outside. Okay. So it causes less confusion, but it's not by given. Yeah, I think in Python, in most cases also you have you pass it by reference. And function local context do not interact with outer world. Yeah, so this is the scope. Yeah, that what happens inside functions, it just happens inside functions. So if you declare variable a inside your function, and you call this function, you don't have access to a outside this function. Yeah, simply like here. Yeah, we declare variable g and v0 here, so we can do whatever with those variables inside function. But despite we call this function like a second ago, yeah, we don't have access to those variables. And there is no way to access them because they are in different scope, yeah? When you call function, it changes the scope, make everything in local scope. When it returns the function, the scope is dismissed. Okay. But there is something like global variables. Have you ever heard about global variables? Okay, at least someone have heard about them. Global variables have global scope. So in practice, that can be accessed from everywhere. If you declare some variables as global, and please don't do this until you really have to, yeah? Then they are shared. Okay. So that's why here is this kind of riddle. Yeah, what will be displayed here? Yeah, and I wonder if you can solve this riddle. So, in general, using of global variables is considered as bad programming practice. And if you really want to use them, you should be very careful about this. And simple reason is that because they have global scope, you can have another part of your code that you have written 15 years ago, okay, let's say even 5 months ago, and you don't really remember, yeah, but it uses your global variable called cat, and it set its value to 1.6, because why not? Yeah. And then you thought that, in another part of your code, after a few months, you will declare global variable cat, yeah, because you need it for something else, yeah, and then then your execution depends on the order in which you call your functions, which is typically not nice, yeah. Then you have to code it, yeah. They are also quite expensive because they have different scope. So in general, it's rather discouraged to use them, but okay, yeah, this is the life, yeah. But here we have the riddle. Now you have all the information. Yeah, you know that values are passing, that the variables are passed by copy. You know that there are different scopes. You know that there is extra scope that is called global scope that can be common for all the functions, even this default Matlab scope when you use keyword global. So the question is, what will be printed here? Of course, code is deterministic, so we can deduct it, yeah. So okay, so do you want to give it a try? Yeah, without coding, yeah, because with coding it's easy. Yeah, you just code it, yeah, I can execute it in a second, yeah. But I just wonder if you can follow those principles, yeah, and see why this is confusing, yeah. Should we try to analyze it on keyboard? Oh, not on keyboard, yeah. What I'm talking on the blackboard or whiteboard or something like that.
This piece of code?
Yeah.
You
Hmm?
can do it verbally.
Verbally?
It's not that long.
Yeah, it's not that long, yeah. Oh, okay, because I think that I have it here, yeah. I have this code here, so then we can check. So, okay, it says that b is equal to 1, c is equal to 7, yeah, and then we call, and then a is a result of calling function f1, and d is result of calling function f2. Yeah. By the way, this is, you know, this is example of terribly bad programming practices. Yeah. So do not use this as example. Yeah. This is counter example, total counter example. You know, all those are totally cryptic. No idea what is it. If it's one elephant, or this is one day, yeah, or this is $1 million on someone's account. No idea. Very bad. Yeah. Also, functions name f1. What does it do? Yeah. Don't do this to anyone, especially to yourself. But okay, okay, because it's short, we can try to solve this riddle. Yeah? So, function f1 that it's called here, yeah, it returns a and get b and declare global c and set it to 12, add 2 to b and return a, which is b multiplied by 2. Okay, so what is value it returns?
B will give 2, 3.
So what we expect from a?
6.
Okay, so we expect from a to be 6, yeah? What we expect b to be?
3.
1. Because it has different scope. We talk about this, yeah?
Okay.
Because it has different scope, yeah? Here is main Matlab scope, and here is function scope, yeah? So what we tell that, you know, b is passed as a copy, so it copies it here, yeah? If it makes it physically or not, it's another case, but it's passed by copy. So because this is totally different scope, it won't be reflected here. So b is still 1. But again, yeah, why all this playing? Why? But it shows why do we have those rules, yeah, to keep things simple and readable. Because it's really easy to misunderstood it in one way or another, and this can cause issues, yeah. So what is C?
7.
Is a new.
It was declared global, so it follows from F1.
Okay, so C is
But
question
there is
mark.
also global C upper in the other function. which
Yeah,
is
so
different.
let's leave it. Let's leave it global for a second. Yeah. Okay. Okay, because I don't want to, you know, ruin the whole riddle. But okay, okay, yeah, but okay. So okay, on the other hand, why not? It's 7. If you have any doubt, we'll clarify it later. Okay. After this step, it's 7. Okay. So now we are calling function f2, and function f2 calls as well function f1. Yeah, as you can see, so it's declared C global, then it sets C to 1, then it's called f1 with argument E, and E is C, and C is 7, yeah. Yeah, most likely, yeah, it's 7, so it's needed here, yeah. So most likely it's 7, yeah, but it has different name E, and yeah, so the question is, what is D? It's just few lines, yeah. Can you get it? Yeah, I don't really remember it, so I also have to calculate it. But is there anyone who came with the solution? What is D? So maybe should we try to still write it? Okay, but yeah, so
My question is, do we actually give an input for E?
excuse me?
Do we give an input for E at all?
I don't understand.
Okay, I'm trying to read the code. I also don't have enough resolution in my lenses for reading all the way from here. But
Okay, so I can, so I will help you. And just, I think that I still can make it a little larger. I don't remember which one it was, but I think that it still can, I hope it can fit it.
okay, not bad.
Okay, at least it fits all the code, yeah, so it's fine, yeah.
But there is no E defined.
Excuse me?
There is no E defined anywhere, like in the amount of code.
Yes, you are right, but it doesn't matter.
But what
Because, okay, because you are following this slight misconception, yeah, that the names must match, but it's not. You copy value, yeah. So E is clearly equal 7 here, because you pass number 7, yeah. Because you know this code doesn't bother with that. What is name here? Once again, different scope. So it cares only about the fact that you are having something, and because it passes by copy, it will take this value 7 that it's in C, it will copy it, and because of different scope, we call it E here, E will be known as 7 inside this function. And it has nothing to do with what is here, yeah? And very simple example, we have already done it, yeah? A very simple example is like here, yeah? That we have t here, but we can call it time. Time is equal to 12 again, yeah? And we can call vertical position, okay, here we have this passing, whatever, yeah? And it works as expected, because it cares that time has value 12, and what name we use inside is slightly different story, yeah? So it can be totally different. So that's why it works, okay? So E is equal 7 here, it's clear. The same goes here, yeah? Because E is equal 7, so it's passed at here, and it will be 7. This is this also extra level of abstraction for a function, yeah? It doesn't bother what is the name you call it with, the name of the variable you call it with, okay?
will it be 15 then? As the result of the function?
Hmm?
Will it be 15 for D as a result of the function?
As far as I remember, no.
Because we have
Okay.
the third definition of the defined.
Okay, so
It's
F1,
plus 1.
F1 of 7, so it's 7, it's 12, it's 9, yeah?
Okay.
And 9 by 2, 18, so it's 18. I hope that I'm correct. I'm correct? Yeah, so it's 18. So it's 18 plus, so it's 18, yeah? And C is equal to 12. So because E is equal to 12, as we can clearly see from this code, yeah, then here we have,
I don't understand why C is equal to 12 and why not 1.
I will explain you in a second, okay? Because I want to finalize this. I will execute it. I will show you that I'm right, yeah? And then I will again emphasize, do not write this type of the code because it causes a lot of confusion, and it's clear, yeah? Because I know it, because I analyzed it already sometimes and I wrote it, yeah? And I tested. So I know that this is the case, but it can confuse most, yeah? So it's totally normal that you are confused here. So, but this also means that D is equal here to 30. So it returns 37. So D is 37, yeah? So here, after all this analysis, we expect to get 6, B, 1, C, 7, and D, 37. If we don't make some mistakes, yeah, just let's run it, F5, and yeah. So our analysis proved to be correct. And now what has happened, yeah? So here we get into fine details that we shouldn't bother about, and this is because of breadth programming practices and use of global variables, yeah? So first of all, those names are confusing, but especially here, yeah? You declare global to be C equal to 1, but before you access C, you call this function, because interpreter works in predictable way, from top to bottom, from left to right. And because summation in general doesn't depend on the order of the operations, yeah, it's safe to execute this first. But when you execute these functions, you set global to C to 12. So after executing these functions and getting value 18, already C is equal to 12, not to 1.
Well, when you say that it is executing from upper to the lower side, then it is kind of executing the fact that we have set global C and C is equal to 1. Why doesn't it come?
Of course. But after it's true here. So here C is equal to 1. But here C is already equal to 12 because this part was also executed. Okay? So because this part was executed, yeah. So it also means that despite no, I have to learn it. Okay, so this is the way to go. So despite the fact that, you know, the addition, in the addition, it shouldn't matter what is the order of the arguments, because of all this confusion, here the result will be different, because if you use this code, yeah, for this version, f1 of 7 is of course the same 18, but here C is equal to 1, because it firstly reads C, and that ended to the result. So here result of D will be 19. Yeah. So with the second version, this D won't be 37. It will be this 19 plus 7, so 26. And we can call it. And okay, so this is just, let's say, nice riddle. Yeah, but just don't do this in the real code.
Can we clarify why C eventually ends up to be 7?
Because, okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, this is another thing that can be confusing. Because this is not a global scope. Main scope of Matlab is not global scope. Global scope is separate. Yeah, so that's why if you declare it here as a global, it gets into global scope. Here we declare it as global, it's global scope, but here we do not declare it as global scope. So that's why it's not in global scope, it's in the scope of the Matlab command line.
So as soon as the function ends, we basically start to back to the global scope and return to
No.
the main.
No. It's main. It's not global scope here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Global scope is separate.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So as soon as the function ends,
Yeah.
in the main code,
Yeah.
like the first 4 lines, the Matlab interprets C as the value just in the main.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I misunderstood you. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, when we are here, MATLAB sees C as in this main scope of the MATLAB, yeah, and not in the global scope. Confusing, yeah. But yeah. Yeah. So now, if we type global C, you get this warning that the value of local variables may have been changed to match the globals. Future version of Matlab will require that you declare a variable to be global before you use that variable. Yeah, but okay. Yeah. So if we decide to use here global C, yeah, and now run this code, the result will be totally different, and C here will be 12. And because C here is most likely 12 as well, because we first called that one, it's even more confusing, yeah? But I don't want even to guess, but clearly C is 12, because we declare it global. So then we call in the main scope, tell that C is global scope, so then we have access to it. I hope that you can at least partially see that the global scope can cause some issues. And at least when you use it, yeah, so you should at least use name, yeah. Something like that, yeah.
To draw all the attention?
Hmm?
To draw as much attention to
Yeah.
the code as possible?
Yeah, to see that this is global variable. I can easily find it in my code, and if I screw and whatever with that, I can quite easily find it, yeah? And because it's all capital and ugly, I want not to use it, yeah. Yeah, so this is recommendation if you really want to go with it. But okay. Okay, so we have a little fun, but yeah, let's go further maybe. Because we should end in 40 minutes. It's okay that we continue still without the break? Like, okay? You're not mind blown? Okay, another not so obvious topics, handles and anonymous functions. Is it clear what is handle and anonymous function? Or not necessary? Okay, so both techniques are used to pass functions as variables. Okay? Sometimes it's useful because sometimes there are functions that operate on functions. They are called higher order functions, but this is just the case, yeah? Like for example, our integration functions will operate on the function. And because, for example, we want to integrate sine, yeah, and sine is a function. So we have to pass this function to inside the function, okay? And to use this, you can use handles or anonymous functions, okay? Because you cannot, in Matlab, you cannot pass name sin, for example, for sinus, yeah? Because if you try to pass sin, it assumes that sin is already a variable, but why it isn't? Because it's the name of the function. Okay? By the way, there are languages where names of the functions are already variables, but not in Matlab. So the easiest way to do this is to create a function handle. And function handle is created with this add symbol. Okay? So for example, if you have this kind of the script, that we have function declared here, yeah, so here we have function compute square of x, yeah, it computes square of x as name suggests. We can create handle for this function by using add. So simply if we type f is equal to add compute square, okay, then f is variable. Okay, just let's run a code. I hope that I have it here. No, I don't have it. So let's copy it. And name it handles anonymous functions. Okay. So it works that way that f will be handle for this function, okay? So you can call it as a function, yeah? So in this line, it wouldn't matter if you type compute square of 4 or f of 4, because f is handled for compute square, it will have exactly the same result, okay? So we will get here 8. And also, there is a built-in Matlab function integral, yeah, or function from min to max. We'll write our own integral, but it's not surprising that Matlab also has one, yeah. And this function, so maybe you can type it here, help integral. Numerically evaluate integral, yeah, but fun is the first argument. Fun must be a function handle. It's clearly written, yeah, here, that must be a function handle. So we have to, because it wants to operate in compute integral of this function from a to b, you need to pass some function, yeah. So we have to create function handle. And then it integrates this compute square from 0 to 1. Is it clear? What does it mean? Yeah, so if we, let's say, don't remove that part, yeah, and just call it. So first of all, the square of 4 is 16, you know, not surprises here. But if we type whose, you can see that f is not, it's of class function handle, okay? And by the way, we have still global C. Now a little better. Okay. So now we know what is a function handle. Now, what are anonymous functions? Yeah? Anonymous functions are functions that doesn't have name, as the name of this function suggests. Yeah. So here's example of anonymous function and how it works and why you might use it, and we'll use it many times. So anonymous functions must be very easy. Yeah. So you cannot put long functions in there. Yeah. Because anonymous functions can be declared only in the way that you put at here. It means that you will do something with those functions. Then if you put parentheses here, you put here input arguments. So here we have argument n, yeah? So the line above would be equivalent to something like function n equal to some name. Oh, yeah, no. R equal to some name, yeah, and then here we have variable n, yeah, and then R is equal to whatever appears here, and then end, yeah. So it behaves that way. So here is argument in the parentheses, and here it can hold only single expression, and this expression is the value that will be returned from this function. So that's why this is limitation, that it must be simple because it can hold only single expression. And this expression, despite it's not attached to anything, it will be just returned. Yeah. So the difference between a function handle and anonymous function is that you can still have expression here, so you can perform some operations that by they are simple. Yeah. By the way, with using anonymous functions, you could write the line above as f is equal to add of x of x. So this would be equivalent, not of course the same, because here we it will behave the same. So functional is the same, but here we get handle to the function, and here we have anonymous functions, but the result is exactly the same. I hope that you can see this. And as extra feature, as you can see, function handles capture variables from your scope, because here we have E here, and E was declared here, and it will use this E. So it's also a square function in practice, because it puts its argument to the power of E, and E is equal to 2. And then we can call integral as in the previous case, so we can run it just. And we get this integral 1/3. Makes sense, makes sense. Any questions? Is it clear? I suppose that it requires a little practice to master it, yeah, because I imagine that it can cause some confusions. Okay, no comments from online. I don't know. Can I check if there is someone? Okay, there is no one. Now there is of course a question, what will happen if I will put E equal to 5 here? How do you think? Will it change anything? Yeah, I also don't think so, as far as I remember, because it follows the rule that, you know, it tries to copy everything. Yeah, so it should copy it here, put it 2, and then don't bother with this, because it should put it in different scope, because it's function scope. Yeah. So if you run it, we can see that clearly we get, of course, the same result. Yeah. Why, if we were to just change it in that way? Yeah. Then of course it's totally different. Yeah. Okay. A little confusing? Not really. Okay, good. Okay. And both function handles and anonymous functions can be just put here into variables, so it can be called and passed to another functions, and this is their goal. Any questions? Okay, it is pretty useful programming technique. Yeah. So yeah, so functions. By the way, if you really want, you can also design the functions that have variable numbers of inputs and outputs. You can help for n-arg in, n-arg out, var-arg in, var-arg out, and n-arg in check. Yeah. It's a good habit to include functions description so that you know what is this, and then you can type help your function, and then it will tell you what is there, yeah, or some other functions. What we have seen, that functions are recognized by file names of M file, yeah, and the M file must be in Matlab path to be seen, yeah. Functions calls can introduce overhead, it's clear, but no, it's nothing to be bothered about. So, any questions?
The first point, what are those?
Yeah, I don't want to elaborate on this, because I don't think that it's useful for this kind of the stuff. Yeah, I think that I'll put it a little as a reference. Yeah, so there is function n-arg in, and it tells you how many variables you have passed. Yeah, simply, and n-arg out, how many variables you are expecting for the function to get. Yeah. But then you can use var-arg in, as a special variable name that can accept whatever number of variables you have passed, and then you can var arg out. You can return whatever number of variables you want.
Okay.
So this is more or less the use of it, yeah. But I think it's not a good point to to be too elaborative about those topics.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you feel about short hands-on exercise to write a simple function that takes radius r, computes circumference and area? You can make it even like here to use two functions, and then main function will call the function that calculates circumference and area of a circle and print it. And just test it. Okay? Just very simple hands-on to work for a second on the functions. So to be sure, is it clear what is the task? Just write script again with those two functions, at least two or three functions, depending how do you design your script, yeah. It's just print values and test. So it's the best to have three functions, yeah? One main and two very small ones to calculate circumference and area of A.
inference, only one with function.
With one function, of course. Yeah, of
I
course.
can,
Of course, yeah. Just it asks you to have two functions.
one for the area and one for the, okay. Because
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
can.
seem weird.
It doesn't seem so?
Yeah, I have created the function.
Yeah.
Now it should work. I only save the function.
Yeah, it should be cool. You have some errors. Like for example, now we have here argument 2, yeah, and
Yes, exactly. I have to write
yeah,
this one.
we changed them there, but not here, yeah. And now maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, now it should work.
But now you see us in theory are making a script function.
No, I'm.
Okay, okay. Okay, and this is just a code. Yeah, of course you can do that. Ask you to make a function. But we don't have functions here. Because you cannot see them. Do you understand what I mean? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah, but you know, you have how you have Google, yeah, so I don't know why you are asking. It never occurred to me, someone's lectures in Google. Are there any questions? Do you have any questions, or can we maybe go forward with the topic? Yeah. So it went mostly fine. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. It went mostly fine. Yeah. Yeah. There are some like everything. If you are not super, familiar with this, it needs practice, and programming needs practice. Yeah, I think that there is no other way to be better in programming than just write enough code. Yeah. Okay, so next topics, for loops. Maybe this is not the easiest for loop, but for loop is to repetitive task with simple indexing. Yeah. Yeah. So for all values of the index that are defined here, and here is vector, do that stuff. Yeah. So here it will take the values from 7 with the step -1 up to 3, and will print. And it will print the squares of those values. Okay. For defines loops that iterates over each matrix column. Yeah. So this is row vector. Yeah. As your question, if there are, they are always two-dimensional. Yeah. So if you just to show this, yeah, if you create the index like that one, yeah, so that I is equal to 7 to -1 to 3, for example. As you can see, it's row vector, yeah. And if you go to whos and check e, it's 1 times 7 times 5, yeah. And it works because it takes all the columns. There are plenty of details in programming, okay, like that. But okay. And colon works as start, step, stop. We have already seen it, yeah. Any surprises here? I suppose no. And it will display it because there is no semicolon here, yeah. So there are maybe a little more, interesting applications. Like here, it's combination of for and if, and naive way of finding. So what is the maximal ball height? Yeah, for example. So this code, I think it's pretty easy code. Yeah. So, but it works in the way that it tries to find the largest height of our ball. Yeah, and simply it takes as the first value of our array, and then idea is that we go through all the values of the array that we have there, and we are looking for the just largest number. Yeah, so it goes like that, that we index from L to length of Y, so we are indexing all the values. And then simply, if our current value, so Y holds those heights, yeah. If our value is larger than the largest value until now, that we just write it as this variable. So after going through all those values, yeah, at the end of this for, we'll get the largest height. Make sense? Okay. So this is just, I think, that reasonably simple, use of those two. Of course, then we can have double loops. Why not? Yeah, triple loops, whatever we need. It's not a good idea to have too many of those. Yeah, yeah. If you have too many, you can think about functions as well. But double loops, especially in the context of matrix, are not so rare to see. This part of the code do the same like another part, so it is looking for the largest value in the matrix in the simple way by looking through all the numbers. And it works in the way that firstly we generate this number by using random number generator, yeah, so we don't really know what is the largest number. Then we see here is alternative way, so we set the largest number to -infinite. So then we are sure that all the numbers that has some value will be larger than this number. Makes sense, I hope. Then we loop through I in one direction, in J with another dimension, and then if idea is the same, if value is larger than our currently recorded largest number, record this largest number and then print the value. And here is simple checking. Anything to add to this? Or is it, enough clear and self-expression, Is anything here that surprises you? Or is it completely clear how it works? Okay. Another simple for loop. Another useful thing is to calculate some sums. We will do this as well. Yeah. So if we have this kind of equation that we want to x, and x is expressed as sum from I minus of I equal to 1 to n, and it's expressed by 2 times I. Yeah. The question is, what is x? Of course. Yeah. So we can do this as well with the for loop, yeah, in the simple way that we define that our n is equal to some number, like here we define it at 5. Then we have this initialization of the value because we will we will perform summation. We need to initialize it something, so we of course initialize with 0 because 0 is neutral element of the summation, yeah. And then we go through all those elements and write that x is equal to x plus that part, yeah, because summation is the same from 1 to n, and equation is the same, 2 times I. Yeah, it works that way, yeah. I think it's also pretty simple, yeah. Here I have another hands-on, but it's a little late, yeah, for today to solve it because we just have, I think we just are left with just like 5 minutes, yeah. So I really encourage you to make it at home. Yeah, it's pretty easy, but yeah, it's nice to see how it goes. Another is about debugging. Maybe it's, do you know how to debug code in Matlab? Okay, so we'll get back to this, I think, yeah, next time. If you want to try it by yourself, yeah, we'll get back to it. And, well, even another one, yeah. So I think that it's time to, to finalize today's lecture. So we can just spend those few minutes to talk about debugging. Okay? Do you know what does it mean, debugging? You already talked about this, that debugging in general is a procedure that we are using to, of course, debug the code. So it means that we want to find possible issues with our code, some possible bugs, yeah? And how to do this? Of course, there are many ways to do this, like with everything, everywhere, yeah? But one of the tools to remove bugs is to use so-called debugger, yeah? And debugger, like it's used in Matlab, it allows you to break execution of your code. It's especially easy because it's interpreted, yeah? So you can break execution of your code at any line and then get information about all the variables in this line, yeah? So for example, we are wondering what, like here in our confusing functions, yeah? We can be wondering what are the values here. So we can debug the code, yeah? So let's remove this part. Yeah, let's clear it, yeah? And then we can debug. So here I'm putting so-called breakpoints. As name suggests, those are the points of the code where execution will be stopped, yeah? So how it works? So I will press F5, but it just means run, yeah? So I will run the code. And as you can see, here, first of all, I have all those values. Yeah, here, b equal to 1, c equal to 7, and we are here at this point. Yeah, here I have this extra button that tell me step into this function. So I can just get into this function now. Yeah, and execution moves to this function. Yeah, and I can step further. Yeah, by the way, here I should have somewhere buttons. Yeah, continue, it means that it will continue execution without stopping. Step, it will make just one step of the line. Yeah, and so step, I can do a step, and as you can see in the code, it just moves one step forward. Yeah, in practice almost nothing happens, but it shows that now we have b equal to 1 as value that we passed here, and at this line, can you see this line? Yeah, you can see this line, I suppose. We just define global C, and because we just define its global empty, global scope is empty, it has no value, so it's empty. We can make another step, and then C appears to be 12, and now we will make those two computations. So go to B, go to A. Yeah, so we know what are those values here in our local scope of our function. Okay, so is it clear how debugger works and what it does to us? So first of all, we can tell it stop whenever we want. Okay, because we can put like we can, for example, put breakpoint here, and now I can make continue. Okay, here's another breakpoint, so it will stop on the next breakpoint. Then from the point of this breakpoint, we can get all those values. Like for example, we deduct what they were, but with the debugger we don't have to really deduct it. We can just read it from here. We can check exactly what the code is doing, and especially we can trace for the things that doesn't work as we expect it to be. Yeah, like for here. Yeah, we would get this this value equal to 37, but you were assuming that it's like 20, for example, yeah, because of other reasons. Yeah, because you followed the code. Yeah, yeah, not everything was clear, like this mess with those globals, and you get incorrect input. So then you just, you can either, of course, go on this code, but normally it's not really easy to do this. Yeah, we spend quite a lot of time. It's one thing that is additional, but normally you want to solve some problem. Yeah. And next, to solve it, you just run the debugger and check how it works exactly. Yeah, what are the values, and if it behaves the way that you are expecting it to behave. Make sense? Extremely useful tool. If something goes wrong, you should get breakpoint, run it, and just check how it works. Yeah. So now we can step to this function. Now we know that a is equal to 7 exactly. Yeah, we have to deduct it normally, but yeah, no confusion. Then we can make some steps. Global C, we can see that it's set to 12 because it was already set to 12 earlier. Now we change it to 1. This is a little tricky because C here is in the single line, yeah. But we can at least step into this function, yeah, again. And now we can see that C is equal here 12, yeah. Then we can, it will step back, and we get back here, and we are here when F1 is already calculated, yeah. It's not written here because it's not written, but we can already see that after stepping out of function f1, c is equal to 12. And we have seen where it was set. And another step, this is equal to 30. Yeah, and now it's clear why it happened. Yeah, and then we add it to 7, so D is 37, C in global scope is 12, and E is 7. Yeah. We step out, we are here, then we will assign this value, and now we can see the answers. Yeah, and in that way, step by step, yeah, we can just try to trace what happens where and why. And if something is not the way we are expecting, you know, it's just make it easier to fix it. Because the first thing is to know where, and the next one is also to know why. Yeah, and debugger is just a great tool to do this, and it works really well in Matlab. So as it's written here, yeah, they also have some new features, yeah. But in general, the basic stuff is that you step breakpoints in the place you expect to have some issues, or in the starting from the place when you want to start analyzing your code. Then you run file and go through the code, go to the functions and other things. You can pause it, then you can fix the error, reiterate, yeah. Run the bucket again, and that's all. It's extremely nice and easy to use in Matlab. In most other platforms, it's not so straightforward. But okay, but we are in Matlab, so it's nice. Any questions? Okay, yeah. So it's a really useful tool. So if you haven't tried, and when you write the code, I encourage you to just check it, play with it. And it seems that it's everything for today. So I plan to give you some assignment, but we are a little, we didn't get to this topic, so or do you want to have something to do as the very first pretty easy assignment? Because I think that you have all the elements to solve it. I would say that it's in your advantage to solve it, because then you can practice on those very basic concepts before we will get to the most difficult one, but it's, yeah. Maybe we will see, and yeah, okay. Because the first one would be to implement this kind of function with that one. So the main problem here is how to collect those data x, y, and how to then make plot out of it. Yeah, I hope it doesn't sound too difficult. Yeah. So here is the core of the code, yeah, just make this kind of the function that returns you x and y from this kind of loop, yeah, and then plot it and generate something like that, yeah. So this would be the one task. And here is to sort array with numbers, yeah. So the idea is to create a text file with 10 numbers, for example, yeah. Then you can read those numbers using load function, as it's written here. We haven't talked about this, but you can just, then I choose incorrect direction of slides, sorry. You can load it like here, yeah. If you have just 10 numbers, you can load it that way, so it's very easy, yeah, just one call. Write function to sort the array, use insertion sort, and you have pseudocode of insertion sort in Wikipedia, so you have to just translate this code and slightly adjust it to Matlab. Print it, check if it's sorted, and that's all, and write report. Does it sound feasible? And here you have even link to Wikipedia. It's open in incorrect screen, but let's it's something, yeah. But here you have even code for it, yeah. You have to just translate this pseudocode, like here is function. You have to just adjust it to Matlab, yeah. So for example, the functions are called different, and I don't know if index it starts from 1 or 0, yeah. But it's pretty easy to check it, yeah. Here is even some implementation in C, yeah. So code is there, and I think that insertion sort is the simplest, non-trivial algorithm that can be used in practice, yeah, and it's really easy. So the assignment is to solve those two tasks. So write those two functions, make in one some plotting, yeah, and the second one you have to print some numbers and check it, and write very just short report based on this, yeah.
What kind of information would you like to see in the report?
You will be graded based on report.
Yeah, but I mean, what exactly do you want to see in there? The code or maybe
No code. No, okay. Don't put any code in the report. Yeah, because here it's written. Submit the report in with source files in PDF and source files in zip. Yeah. So code, I ask you to provide me code separately. So do not use any code in report because it's just repetition. You know. So just write about the task. So just I don't know. Yeah, but.
what makes you feel? Do you feel sad when you complete it, or do you feel happy? That kind of information, or I mean, I'm just asking for something.
What I would like to see? Okay, so it's written brief. Yeah. So, what is more or less the task? Yeah, just to confirm, that your understanding. Yeah. So more or less. So what was the task to do? Yeah. Then how you have solved it. Then show some results. So it's always nice to, show how you have done it. Yeah. So for example, in the random walker, you walk for this type, and here is the picture that you get. Maybe you can get even fancy, but then I run it with different seed, and I get the second, plot. Yeah. And then you can, then you can complain or write something that you have, that it was difficult, easy, or just conclude that it was, I just write this function and this is the result, yeah. And for the second, the same, yeah. So the task was to make sorting using this algorithm. So I get this pseudocode from there. It was inputted there because it was task was to create this data. So I use this kind of data, yeah. I call it and it's sorted properly. It works, and yeah. Yeah, so not too much text. I don't need the stories there. Don't put there any print screens. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, if you won't use any print screens, yeah, in the report, because they are always looks ugly. Yeah, so.
What? Not to use what?
Print screens.
Okay.
Okay, you can use print screens, but not from Matlab. Yeah, because this always looks ugly. Yeah, if you have numbers, just copy paste those numbers. If you have plots, just save them as file and include those files. Yeah, I would really appreciate it. And you have 2 weeks because next week we have no classes, so just deadline is just before our next classes in 2 weeks. I think it should be rather easy. If you have any challenges, yeah, I will be traveling next week later, but still you can email me. And we'll try to find solutions to your tasks. Okay? Okay, as always, I will put it just immediately, all those slides online with the code that we worked today, and I will also put the section for this assignment in the Moodle. And you to accept, like it's written here, 2 files. So I expect you to get PDF, yeah, and zip file with your code, and this, for example, text file with numbers that you are using. Okay. Yeah.
Do we have to submit the report in Moodle?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Moodle. Any questions? Okay, perfect. Perfect. So thank you, and yeah, have a nice day, and see you later.